Hello everyone, welcome to Bargain Gaming, where we complete excellent games without busting our wallets. We will try to do an episode on officer creation. So we are starting in this page, and we will go down to editor. In editor, this will allow us to customize or custom build our personal officers. So here we will press register original officer, press X, and then go to create original officer. Once we have created original officer, we can edit it, or we can delete them, or we can edit the dates. When we edit the dates, it will edit, let's say this applies to everyone. So when we edit the date by 10 years, everybody will get younger or older by 10 years. So anyway, so let's go to create original officer. So pressing X, and then we have L1, L2, or R1, so individual or basic. We can, and then using D-pad down, we can just go, pressing square, we come down here, and then we can, and then D-pad right, we can go auto male or D-pad right to auto female. So we can, let's say, okay, let's pick auto male. So they will give us an automatic, this is just a random generation. And then we can now fine tune him. Let's say, so D-pad left, we go to portrait, and now we can pick what kind of character we want. Say we pick somebody like, again, this is using a D-pad to navigate. Let's pick this guy. Say this guy looks promising, and then pressing circle gets us out of this. So now we are on the right side of the map, so we can change the name. Again, using the D-pad to navigate, we can change this to, say, we're creating change the name. Let's say, right, yeah, Bao Tong, or let's say we're creating a son for Ma Tang. So let's say last name would be Ma. So square will remove that, and then go to MA. Right trigger done, Ma Tang. And then D-pad down to go here, and then square to remove that, Ma Tang. No, it's not Tang, but Ma Tong. Ma Tong is right. Tong, that's a separate name. So that's the son of Ma Tang. Okay, and then right trigger done, and then okay, we go down D-pad character. And then it's for male, so we can decide what kind of voice we want. Again, D-pad to navigate. Right now, so we can hear. Okay, let's get brutish, and then arrow to OK, and then down D-pad, and then press X. So we are at ability. Now we can change this. We can have him at, say, using D-pad left and right. We can put him at, say, he's another Ma Chao, and then again we can put OK. Intelligence maybe 85, so he's not too stupid. Politics maybe 89, so he is pretty good. Then let's give him a Wonder Kid, and then triangle OK. So he's pretty strong. Now on the traits, this is very important. So we are limited to 5 items here, and I find, so there are individual descriptions as to which what the traits represent. Disciplined is not bad. Tactful is not bad. Obtain experience is increased. This is pretty good actually. Longbow increases the siege of your unit. It doesn't when units. Divine Eye is not. Why does he have this? Anyway, what I find is that this is very important because what I recommend would be these. Uh, okay, anyway, going back to the abilities. Each ability, when we come in here, all of... Wait, no, sorry. On these traits, each of these dissuasive... No. Each of these abilities actually represent as that particular general goes into battle. It starts, whether it is fighting, it is being hit, or it is hitting somebody or is being hit. It builds up certain points in the process of the battle, and then once you hit a certain number, the computer will automatically trigger this. So when we send our general out to fight, we will have to pick 3 traits, and these traits, these upper part here, they have a numerical representation. Not so much representation. It is like how many points. Like some of them have, let's say, 8 points, 10 points, 12 points. So once the general, after hitting or being hit, gains enough points, that ability triggers. And so these at the bottom, some of them, these are negative traits. So these are all negative traits, and then these are positive traits. Prevents the natural decline of loyalty for officers affiliated with the base for which you are the governor. This is very good for the for the warlord. I mean, the daimyo or the warlord to have this benevolent, because that means it will prevent the natural decline of loyalty of officers that are within his city. I think in Nobunaga's Ambition, there's a similar trait, but it applies to all his officers all throughout the kingdom, not just in the city that the warlord is controlling. Here in this game, only the officers that are within the city that this warlord is controlling, or a lieutenant general, which is also the governor of the city. If the governor has this ability, the natural tendency of loyalty declining will not happen. So this is helpful in terms of the fact that the warlord does not have to spend an order every turn to reward his officers, because if the loyalty constantly declined every turn, after a few turns, the warlord has to reward them to bring their loyalty back up to a safe region, because if not, another warlord will poach them. So the warlord makes sense, because the warlord becomes automatically the governor of the city where he is in. For other officers that report to the warlord, the player doesn't pick who the governor of the city is. The game automatically picks one of the officers to be the governor. I still don't know on what basis they do this, how the AI picks the governor. So I would not give any other officers that is not the warlord this ability, because it would be wasted on the other guys, because you have only 5 abilities, and so it is best. That's why it would be best to have. I would put my priorities would be the benevolence is only for the warlord, and then all the others would be somebody like the one we just picked. I mean, the one we just picked, which is a soaring general. Zok is ignored, so all the difficulty, or regardless of terrain, mountain, water, Mars, whatever, it is as if the general is traveling on a flat surface. So this is applicable to all generals. So I picked this for all of my created officers. Then you have the other one, which is This one swift is fast, but it's only when you're retreating. I do not intend for them to retreat. The second one that is really good for me, I believe, so all of these are pretty good, right? All of them are very, very good. The other one is, I believe, is the Sleeping Dragon. Tactics that inflict status ailments are always successful, and their effective period is strengthened. So these things, we will go into tactics later, and in the latter part of this creation, we will be able to pick 10 tactics, of which anytime a general going out to battle will have to use, we can only pick 3 tactics that the general can use for that particular mission. Once he comes home to base and we create a new army again, then we can repick whatever tactics that he currently knows. So this would be my number 2, applicable to all generals. And then we can come down here. This one is very good. Assault and defense of enemy units within a specific range. I give this to my melee generals. And then aside from that, I give this to also my melee generals. The Divine General, assault and defense of units of your force other than your own units within a specific range are increased. So you are influencing the assault and defense of, because usually when we go into a fight, we are not the only general going into a fight. We will have at least a catapult or another friendly general helping us. So there will be 2 or 3 units, usually 2 or 3 units going out to fight. And then if that general also has this, assault and defense of enemy units within a specific range is decreased. So this increases your this is a handicap to your enemies, while this is a buff or a benefit to your allied units. So these are, I will put this to my melee generals. Sleeping Dragon to all generals, and Zok to all generals. And then, so that would be 4 already, so we can limit it to 5. And for my melee generals, I usually give them also the Summoner effect. The Summoner effect means that every time they recruit, I usually, because they're becoming a trainer, where is the Summoner effect? This is what I would recommend. Promoter, Summoner. Here, when assigned as a recruitment overseer, troops productions are higher. So this is what I give to my melee generals. Now, if it is not a melee general, so I have primarily in my composition is one is a melee general, or the other one is a catapult general. So when we have these are the 5 traits for a melee general. So 4 traits or 4 perks that are very, very strong for, these are combat related. And then the Summoner is in terms of producing troops, again combat related. But if hold on, sorry. Okay, see, now we can just go edit that general, which is Matong, and then so if the general is used as a catapult general, I will take out the Summoner, and I will take out the Divine General, and I'll take out the Strategy General, or I could put this in. That is something that's good, because it's always good against enemies, because this other general would be the Catapult General. So if with this, it affects the enemies hitting the catapult. Catapults are always very weak against melee enemies, very strong against fortifications, but very weak against enemy generals. So putting the Strategy Master attribute to a catapult general is very good. So that means the soaring sleeping and strategy master is very good for the catapult general. I don't know about sleeping. I don't know if they can. I have not seen the fight where this one is questionable. I have not seen the fight where the catapult. No, the catapult cannot use this. Sorry, take out this for the catapult because they cannot execute commands or they cannot execute tactics except catapult. So if they are so these are my catapult generals. So what they will have would be catapult. There will be a catapult here. Where's the catapult? And okay, there's a catapult here. I can't see it. Fire god dependable. Poetic. There is a catapult here. Oh, sorry, no, there's not a catapult. Usually my catapult generals are women or okay. So what happens is for the catapult general, and they're usually women. So what I do is I give them the gorgeous or irresistible or Driver, doctor. Can't remember now. Oh, gorgeous. Okay, hold on. I give them the gorgeous because all abilities of male enemy units within a specified range are decreased, and so that's what I give for my catapults. Are from my gameplay, it is obvious that all my catapult players generals are all female. So I usually have that. So the soaring general and the strategy master plus the gorgeous or the woman glamorous thing makes enemy generals, male enemy generals, harder against us. And then the tax collector and the wealthy increases the collection. So they are always gold is super important in this game. So that's what happens on the trait side. And then on the doctrine, this doctrine is a little harder to understand. So the doctrine of all the created officers, it makes sense for all the other created generals should have the same doctrine here. You have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 types of doctrines, and so it makes sense that all the created generals share the same kind of doctrines because these are specific abilities within doctrine. So some of these doctrines, this is battle doctrine, this is personal doctrine. They're against 6 types of doctrine: support, schemes. So it's always better to have doctrines that are similar to that of the warlord. So in this case, when I have noble, all the created generals should have noble. And then under here, we will all pick different. So if our warrior, if our general has noble, then we will pick one. The other generals will pick something like battle, but also in the form of doctrines that are similar I mean, noble, just under noble, we will have 6 forms of doctrines under noble: battle, support, schemes, domestics, personnel, and support personnel, domestic, schemes, support, and battle. So actually 5 items. So those are the things. So it's important. This line is important. All of them should have the same doctrine: noble, or unfettered, or confusion, or all of them should be the same. Then here we start to support. Let's say one general will have things that are like under the battle. Under the battle, there is one that is like an ability that it's that takes everything into it. Meaning, on the domestic, there's like pen and paper, and then there's for the people. Those are, so we look at it. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, under personnel, there. Let's look at personnel. See, take the initiative. Produces all the effects. See, this is like a catch-all for all personnel policies. And then the other one is for schemes. Foil the enemy is like a catch-all for schemes policy. And then pen and sword is a catch-all for support policies. And then strengthen the armed forces is a catch-all for battle policies. And then under the personnel, when I say catch-all, which is under the take the initiative, it's produce the effects of all personal policies. Under the personal policies, you have actually different types of personnel. You can chance of injured officers recovering is increased. Amount of experience gained is increased. So these are all personnel, but all of those are addressed by this catch-all. Take the initiative. It takes all of those individual personnel policies, and then so when you invest in that, all of the personal policies are actually being improved at the same time. So it's a slower going, but you hit everything. So what I would recommend is that the warlord would have one of this, take the initiative, and then the other warlords would have one for domestic, one for schemes, one for support, and one for battle. And 1, 2, 3, 4, there are a total of 5 types of policies. And so these are, and within those policies, there are many individual policies. Like as I was saying, in personnel, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5. So it's it would be good. Again, this is in doctrine side. Going back to the doctrine, all the created officers should have the same noble doctrine. Now, in terms of the individual generals, aside from the warlord, if the warlord takes this, then the other generals should take the other ones. One catch-all for domestic, catch-all for schemes, catch-all for support, catch-all. And then if you create more than 5 generals, then some of them, if you want to emphasize battle, then 2 of them will go into battle. If you emphasize domestic, then you have 2 of them going into domestic. So if you have 7 generals, so it's up to you. If you have more generals, give them all the other stuff. And so that's and then it will actually improve the amount of experience, or how the doctrines are being implemented per turn. It will go much faster. Okay, so in this case we have catch-all for it, and then finally we have this one. These are all the perks. So if this was a female, we would have this beauty's dance that would reinforce okay, when I was talking about the traits, these traits they're built into the generals. There's no points here. They're automatically, the general has them, and doesn't have to build up any points for those things to trigger. They just trigger automatically. It is the tactics that confuse the points earned with the tactics. See, these tactics, these lower parts, these upper parts require fewer points to trigger. The lower parts require a higher numbers to trigger. Transcendent Fire requires 22 points. I think some of these require 22 points. Some of them require 18 points. And so so it's nice to have very strong points, but then it takes a while to trigger because they have to build up the number of points before they can trigger. So sometimes if the enemy has too low, like level 8 require or 8 points to trigger, sometimes they might trigger twice before our general can trigger his 22 points, or the 22 points might never trigger because the fight didn't last long enough. So these are things that we can choose, like enemy of all. So these are, we can pick 10 points out of this, and if we have for our lady generals, we will always pick Beauty's Dance because it causes disorder on male generals. And for our catapults also, we will have to have catapult because the catapult will emphasize the amount of damage done by the catapult general. And then these are formations. We are allowed to pick 5 formations. I would recommend fish, arrow, forget the owl, crane, forget the ram. Catapult is the most important one. And here you can pick whatever. For the catapults, I use ring, so they're very defensive. So in case they go fight, then they can use ring. For the melee guys, I would use a crane or snake, so they can go through mountains. And the thing is, basic arrow formations would be fish and arrow, and then crane for pacifying locations. And then if it is a melee fighter, they will not have catapult, but they will have possibly goose. And then for the catapult, I would take out goose and I'll put in catapult. And so I guess that is, and then on the right side you can pick how old the player is or the general is at certain time of these events. So he will be 15 years old during the Yellow Turban Rebellion, and then you can pick them that they will have a maximum lifetime of 99. And then you can say whether they are connected to the warlord by lineage, or being the father being the warlord, or a spouse or something, so they are related. And confidence, you want to put in their people they're familiar with, and then it will help in the future in terms of recruitment. If they are confident adversaries, then they're automatically opponents. Okay, and then once you got everything, it says press triangle, and okay, you have created a general. So, and then once you go back, be sure to come down here and save, so that what you have created will be saved. And then voila, I guess that's why we have created an officer. I hope that helps. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me. I hope this is helpful. And then I will see you in the next game. Bye.